Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. I'm so glad, grateful, and thankful to be with you here this morning as we take another fresh new look at the financial market today. So, if you can see my screen, let's start with that one. If you can hear my voice clearly, please let me know in the comment section. So, if you can see my screen, you can hear my voice clearly, please type in hi in the comment section, as this will give me a good confirmation that we are good to go this morning. So, I would like to see some feedback, please. All right, so let's see what we have here. I think, okay, I can see some couple of comments here. Sansal, good morning, thank you. 676 says is new here. Good morning to you too. Glad to have you around. Horv, good morning. 5678. Kaleni 713. 22904 71026. 6338. Good morning to you all. Okay, Carrie, good morning to you, Carrie, and glad to have you around too. And I can see Raja's comment here saying that he wants to know how to trade in fast mode. I don't understand what that means. Trading does not require any fast mode or slow mode. You just have to do the right things, and the right things will happen to you. All right, so I think I will take this as a positive confirmation that we are good to go this morning. And on this note, I welcome you once again to yet another promising session on the Extreme Speed Live. My whole name is Sheriff Dharamola, and for the next 1 hour, I'm going to be your host, where we shall be deliberating on the financial market. And in fact, in preparation for today's trading session, I have conducted a comprehensive price action based technical analysis using simple setups, trading parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and of course chart patterns to uncover valuable insight into the historical price movement of all of the assets on our watch list for today. And for this week so far, we have, I think, 4 or 5 financial assets. For this week, we have the USOILSPOT, we have the USTech100, we have the XAUUSD. I think we also have the GBP USD, and finally, Fisherman introduced to us yesterday the EURJPY, which of course is what we are going to be deliberating on today. Let's see how we are going to be managing our position, how well these assets have been doing, and at the same time strategically position ourselves ahead of the New York session. And for those who are joining us for the first time, those who bumped into our live session this morning, you might be wondering that what is this all about and what is it that we do here? Well, it's quite simple. What we do here is to come together as a community in anticipation of the New York session, where we come here to review how well our position is doing, and at the same time strategically position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential opportunity during the New York session. So we do this on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here to get ready for the New York session. So once again, you are welcome, and I would encourage you to stay tuned into the end of the session, and of course join our subsequent editions, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how things works, and at the same time be able to use this information you will be gathering here to make your own independent trading decision. So with that being said, here let's dive right into the business for today. And as usual, you know how we do it. The first thing we are going to be doing is to keep tabs with the fundamental aspect of the market by checking the economic calendar. And for those who have been with us for a while now, it is quite clear that these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movements. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and, of course, specific technical patterns, hereby giving us adequate information to position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential trading opportunity ahead of the event, during, and even after the event. So right here on the economic calendar, we normally focus on high impact event, which do affect the financial the instruments on our watch list. We want to be looking at high impact event from the economies that affects the instruments on our watch list, and these are the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Japanese economy. So the first high impact event, okay, let's talk about yesterday. Remember, we were looking forward to the gross domestic product for quarter two from the Japanese economy yesterday. And of course, since we are monitoring an instrument on that involves the Japanese yen, that is the EURJPY, we want to see how the market has reacted to this, to the results of this data, as we had a very positive data here, giving us a clue of expansion in the Japanese economy. And of course, we had a 1.5% expansion, giving us a positive deviation of 3.02, as we had a data which was way beyond all expectations. So we are going to be looking into the market to see how the EURJPY has reacted to this event. Then this morning we had the claimant count change. The claimant count change is another very high impact event, which of course is a measure of the change in the number of people who are claiming under unemployment related benefits. This data, it provides an indication of the health of the labor market in the United Kingdom and can influence trading decision, as a decreasing count may suggest improving job market, while a increasing count indicates a contraction in the labor market. Now, if we look at the previous data here, it came in at 29,000, which is higher. And like we said, a higher count suggests that there is a contraction in the labor market. The condition isn't good, it's not palatable for the pound sterling in this case scenario. Then we also had the employment change index, which hold on a second, I'm trying to, okay. So we have the employment change index, which is released by the UK Office for National Statistics and represent the change in the number of people who are employed in the United Kingdom in the 3 months to the release period. So from the data we have here, it came in at minus 66,000, which from a fundamental aspect is not something promising at all. Then we also had the ILO unemployment rate, which gives us an insight into the percentage of the labor force without jobs in the United Kingdom, which of course too that was not so good too, as well, as we had 4.2%, way above the projection and of course the previous data. So we don't have palatable figures from the United Kingdom economy as regards to the labor market, and in fact this will also cast a shadow on the interest rate decision, which is coming up in the month of November. So as a result of this, we are going to be looking at how the market has reacted to this event, which we shall be looking at in a moment. Then later on today, we have the retail sales data, which is the measure of consumer spending on goods and services, which of course indicates the health of consumer demand and economic activity. A high retail sales suggests strong consumer confidence and economic growth, which is something that we want to be looking forward to as well. Now, from the previous data here, it came in at 0.2%, and there is a general consensus projecting 0.4% growth, which is on the positive side anyways. Though let's see how the market would, let's see what the actual data will be. Will it be just as expected, below expectation, or even beyond expectation? So we have an outstanding event coming up later today. I think in about 2 hours from now, we are going to be seeing the retail sales from the United States economy. So with that being said here, and with the information we have gathered, as technical traders, all we are going to be doing right now is to go back into the chart to look at things from a technical standpoint, where we of course want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will help us to position ourselves strategically ahead of the New York session today. So the first financial asset on our watch list for today is going to be the US All Spot. And interestingly, we yet to have a position on the US All Spot, as you will see that since the beginning of the week, the market has been caught within a range as price action remained confined within the $82.50 level and the $81.40 area, to emphasize the level of indecision in this particular market. And as you will see, it appears that buyers are finding it difficult to stay above our key level, which was situated at the $82 area, and this could likely incite selling opportunities at this point. So right now we still don't have a position running, but before we go into the details of how we are going to be positioning ourselves ahead of today's trading session, I would like us to scale up into the higher time frame. Let's look at things from an holistic standpoint, and let's see what is really going on, if we can have a correlation between the higher time frame and the lower time frame for a well-informed trading decision. So during our live session yesterday, we talked about the 4 hours time frame. This was where we were during the live session, and this was what we saw in anticipation of the New York session yesterday. Now, the first thing we observed on the 4 hours time frame is the fact that price action has been very, very bullish in this market. And to further emphasize the bullish momentum, we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us this ascending trend line you are seeing on your screen right now. And since the later part of the month of June, this ascending trend line has been respected, as at no point in time have we witnessed a breakdown of this ascending trend line, which of course emphasized the strength of the buyers in this particular market. Now, in addition to this trend line, we were able to spot a key level, which we agreed here that we are going to be using as a yardstick to guide our trading activity for this week. Now, why the key level at the $82 area? Well, one thing I was able to observe here is how the $82 level had been a major determinant of price action since the beginning of this month. Now, if you look at what happened here on the first day of this month, we saw how the $82 level became a strong selling niche, rejecting all buy pressure to push price to the downside. We saw the same thing happen around here, though we had a little breakout which didn't last long, which still further emphasized the strength of the sellers around this area. So during the first half of this week, this level here had been a strong selling niche, so I will call it a seller's territory if price remains below the $82 area. Now look at what happened a couple of weeks ago. We had the breakout. I think last week trading session we had a breakout of that structure, and price came back to retest the structure during the last trading day of last week, of last week of course. And since the beginning of this week, we have been noticing buy pressure around that area. So it more or less gives us an insight into how this level has been a major determinant of price action. And like I said, if price remains below the key level, then of course we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of selling the asset. Now, if we zoom into what has been going on here in the last, let's say, the last 12 hours, you will see that sellers are beginning to gain some momentum in this particular market. As you will see, in the last 12 hours, price has remained below the key level, and of course in the last 4 to 5 hours now we have finally seen a breakdown of that ascending trend line, which happens to be the first time price action will be breaking down of that trend line in the last 6 to 7 weeks, which is a very significant signal that we cannot ignore at this juncture. Now, if price action breaks down, retests the trend line and the key level, you know we have no business buying the US oil, as anywhere below the $82 level is going to be a signal to look out for selling opportunities. Now, with this information we have gathered here, let's scale down into the lower time frame to see how participants in this market has been reacting to this current structure we have right now. So to do that, we want to scale down into the 1 hour time frame. So on the 1 hour time frame, this is what we were able to come up with during our live session yesterday. We saw the continued consolidation phase. Price remained within that range, which further emphasized the strength, the indecision in this market. Then in addition to that is this descending trend line we spotted after connecting the series of lower highs since last week Thursday. And one of the things we agreed here yesterday is that for us to buy the US oil spot, we would need price action to break out and retest the trend line, which of course has never happened. But right now, since price remains below the trend line, and in fact we already have a breakdown of this ascending trend line, then it will make quite a lot of sense that we look out for selling opportunities at this juncture in the market. So things are looking very bearish at this point. So anywhere below the $81.40 level will be where our center of focus will be for today to sell the US oil spot. So we want to position ourselves below the $81.40 level to capitalize on a downtrend scenario here. And if we are going to be joining a sell below the $81.40 area, we want to be having our stop losses just right above our key level at the $82 area. And remember that we need to give enough room for price action to breathe. So on this current scenario here, we have a bearish perspective, so we are looking out for selling opportunities at this point, and make sure that our selling opportunities will be anywhere below the $81.40 level. So that is how we are going to be selling the US oil spot for today. Now, if the contrary happens at any point in time, that bullish momentum comes in, remember that the only condition that will make us to buy the US oil spot at this point in time is for price action to break out of the key level at the $82 level, and of course take out the strength of this descending trend line to give us a signal to buy. Remember that if this does not happen, we shall not be thinking of buying the US oil spot at all. So a breakout of the $82 level is what we're looking out for to buy. Breakout, retest of structure, a further breakout of the $82.50 level will welcome more buying opportunities in this particular market. So that is how we are going to be managing our position for the US oil spot for today. So let's keep this in mind. Mark this level out on our chart. It's a very simple setup, and let's use it as a reference point to guide our independent trading decisions for today. So if you do have any questions as regards to my explanation, or you need me to do some clarification in an aspect you really did not understand, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I'm here and willing to be of help in that regard. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and you can as well use that time to mark out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your trading activities for today. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here. So I will be moving on to the next financial asset on our watch list. I see your comments, Christina 1977. Thank you for checking in. Jack Racentis, good morning to you too. Hiliana Hatta, good morning. Thank you very much for checking in on us. So, with that being said, here, let's dive right into the next financial assets on our watch list. All right, so the next asset on our watch list for today is the USTech100, popularly known as the Nasdaq. And in fact, in the last 24 hours, we've had quite an interesting position, as we had a buy position triggered. And in fact, we not only had one position triggered, but we had two position triggered. So let's run through this quickly and how we took advantage of this opportunity and what led into the idea of considering buying the US Tech 100 for the first day of the week. Now, the first thing we observed on the 1 hour time frame, remember, okay, I think we initially saw a descending trend line on the 4 hours time frame, which we said we were going to be using to guide our trading activity for this week. Now remember, we connected a series of lower high here to give us this descending trend line, and of course, when price breaks out of a descending trend line, it's a clear signal that we are likely going to be going bullish. And with the descending trend line identified, we also acknowledge the fact that price action was within a range during the early hours of the week, as we saw it confined within the $15,080 level and the $14,960 level, giving us a flat channel to work with. And you know how we do it in this community. When price action falls into this kind of range, we want to wait patiently for price action to either break down the support line to give us an opportunity to sell, or break out of the resistance line of that channel to give us an opportunity to buy. And if you remember vividly, I told you that I already had a buy position prior to the beginning of the live session, where we had a breakout of both the $15,080 level and of course the descending trend line that has been supporting that bearish momentum in the last couple of weeks to give us a signal that we are going to be going bullish. And I told you yesterday that for those who had missed out on this opportunity, that we should remain patient, as price might likely come back to retest structure to incite an uptrend continuation. And as a result of this observation, I told us all that we should be having a buy position triggered at the breakout of the $15,080 mark, adding more positions at the breakout of the 15,150 level. Now, if you had followed this instruction, we see that price action moved significantly well. The first position moved over 190 pips in our favor, while the second position moved over 100 pips in our favor, giving us roughly over 200 pips in total before that bearish momentum began. And I do hope that you moved your stop loss accordingly, like we always say here in this community, that as soon as price action moves significantly well in your favor, we want to definitely secure the position against any sudden pullback that might happen. And if you had moved your stop loss accordingly, you must have been taken out with a modest size of profit on that one. So for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to have capitalized on this move. Now, with that being said here, by this point in time, we should have been out in all the buy position, unless you are a counter trend trader who took advantage of this breakdown of this range that was spotted here during the early hours of today. It was another beautiful opportunity to join a counter trend opportunity. So for those who took advantage of that one to the downside, well done to you, as you will currently have about 120 pips running in profit. So you indeed want to be moving your stop losses accordingly to lock in that profit. Now, as we prepare for the New York session today, what is going to be our plans and what do we intend to see here that will make us capitalize on a potential move? Now, before we go into the details here, I would like us to scale up into the higher time frame. Let's look at things from an holistic standpoint so that we don't miss anything from the picture, from the holistic picture. So scaling up into the daily time frame, what do we have here? So on the daily time frame, we still have price action staying above the ascending trend line we identified yesterday. Remember, we connected a series of higher lows since the month of March to give us this ascending trend line, and of course price has consistently respected that trend line, pushing price action to the upside. Now, looking at the situation here, we have a key level situated at the $15,000 level to complement and help us to position ourselves for any potential move. And in fact, we were at a very beautiful confluence yesterday. We had a key level, and of course, the ascending trend line shared a beautiful confluence. And of course, you know how we use our key levels in this community. As long as price action remains above the key level and of course the ascending trend line, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying, which also was one of the reasons we took advantage of a buy position at the breakout of the $15,080 level, which we identified on the 1 hour time frame. Now, with this selling pressure we notice here since the beginning of today, will this be a signal that price action might likely be going to the downside? As buyers, I think buyers are finding it difficult to break out significant levels here. Now, like I said yesterday, we have two potential opportunities around this area: a potential breakdown of the 15,000 MAC level, which also shares a confluence with the ascending trend line, and of course a breakdown of the $15,000 MAC will result in the breakdown of the ascending trend line, which will be the first time price action will be breaking down that ascending trend line in the last 5 to 6 months. And if that is going to be the case, we might likely be seeing a very strong bearish move. However, if price action continues to find buy pressure above this area, we agreed that we will continue to look out for buying opportunity. So with this information here, let's scale back down into the 1 hour time frame to see how the market has been playing out around that area to give us an insight of what we are going to be doing next. So back into the 1 hour time frame, like I said earlier, we have been noticing some selling pressure since the beginning of today's trading session. As you will see, we have the strong impulsive bearish leg. Now the question at this point in time is, how far will this retracement go before we begin to see the next wave of bullish momentum? And if we take a closer look at the structure from a technical standpoint, remember we saw the breakout of this descending trend line on this chart, and whenever we cite a breakout of a key structure, we'd expect that some point in time, this is from a technical standpoint, that price may likely come back to retest that structure in anticipation of the uptrend continuation. So with this expectation in mind, we are going to be considering a potential culmination of this move back into our key level at the $15,000 area, which of course also shares a beautiful confluence with this descending trend line we spotted at the beginning of the week. So if price comes back into that area and we begin to see buy pressure around the structure, then we want to be getting ready to join an uptrend continuation. So we're going to be looking out for patterns like double bottom structures, head and shoulder pattern, falling wedge, or whatever reversal pattern you can think of. Have your neckline marked out, and then you want to be joining a bullish move. Most importantly, what we want to be seeing here is that sellers are finding it difficult to drop below that descending trend line. Then we can join a bullish momentum at that point. So that is one scenario we are going to be looking at here. Then the other scenario here is the 15,000 MAC. Remember, this was our initial resistant line at the beginning of the week, and we said the breakout of that structure will be welcoming the buying ideas we took advantage of yesterday. So right now, price action is gradually approaching the $15,080 MAC, and we want to see how price would react to that level. Now, if we see buy pressure around or above this level, then we want to be getting ready for an uptrend continuation. So we have two levels that we are looking at right now to join an uptrend continuation. The first one is the $15,080 MAC, and the second one is the $15,000 area. So what we want to be doing here is to remain patient for the uptrend continuation. Let's wait to see how price will react to this level to determine if we are going to be joining an uptrend continuation. And to further buttress this, I want to use my Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg, and let's project the area or zone where price action is likely going to start doing a reversal setup. So whenever we have our Fibonacci retracement tool, we normally focus on the golden zone area, which is between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So this area here will be our potential buy zone. So you do want to be marking that level out on your chart right now. And of course, it's going to be serving as a TP target zone for those who had sold the USTech100 this morning. So this is what we are looking at right now. So we already have a buy zone. So we are looking forward to buying opportunities within this area. So this makes things a little bit more easy for you to leverage on during the New York session today. So what we are simply looking out for is the end of this retracement phase, which will reflect with continued buy pressure around this area. Then we can join that bullish move all the way to the upside. So these are my views here on the USTech100 for today. So I remain bullish on this asset for today, as long as price still remains above our key level at the $15,000 MAC. And I think we have an ascending trend line, which I just spotted now after looking at the higher lows we have witnessed since the beginning of the week. So we have a trend line right here. So let's do some little adjustment to allow it capture all the week. So we have a beautiful ascending trend line right now that we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. So as long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we shall get ready to be part of a bullish momentum. And remember that we also have very important levels such as the 15,150 level, and of course the 15,265 area, which is the highest point where price has been for today, to maximize the potential of this bullish move if price action goes on to break out of this level. So these are my views here on the USTech100. Very simple setup. You want to be marking out this ascending trend line. You want to be marking out this potential buy zone, and of course the 15,080 and the $15,000 area, where we shall be looking out for reversal patterns, buy pressure to join an uptrend continuation. So if you have any questions as regards to the current setup or my explanation, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and you can also use that time to mark out the levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your trading activity for today. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're all on the same page here. So we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot, and this is my favorite asset. And in fact, we are doing pretty well so far for the new week, as we have a sell position currently running with over 100 pips in total from two positions running in profit. Let's run through how the week started for us and what really incited the idea that we should be selling this asset at least for the first half of this week. Now, looking at the structure from a technical standpoint, the 1 hour time frame, the first thing we observed here was the fact that price action has been bearish in the last couple of weeks now. And to buttress that, we had a couple of trend lines on the higher time frame, but on the 1 hour time frame here, we only have one trend line, as you will see here. And of course, whenever we have descending trend lines like this, we always look out for patterns and structures that will guide any selling ideas in that particular market. Then, in addition to this trend line, was this range we were able to spot during the early hours of yesterday's trading session, as we saw our price action. Trading activities was confined within the $1,915 level, and of course the 1,910 area, to give us an insight into the level of uncertainty in the market at that particular point in time. And one of the things we normally look out for whenever we have a flat channel like this is that, first of all, we want to remain very patient, waiting for a signal to happen, which of course will either come in the form of a breakout of the resistance line or the breakdown of the support line for trading opportunities. Now, yesterday's trading session, we were actually looking at a potential buying opportunity, as we noticed that price action was just right above our key level for the week, which was situated at the 1,910 area, remember? And I told us that if price remains above that structure, we want to be positioning ourselves just right above the 1,915 level, which also shares a confluence with that descending trend line to capitalize on an uptrend continuation, which of course never happened. And because of this scenario here, we saw the breakdown of the 1,910, which triggered our first sell position for the week. And in fact, if you had missed out on that opportunity, the market was so kind that it came back again to retest the structure to give an opportunity for those who had missed out on the first entry to join the second move. And if you are taking advantage of this opportunity, you will currently be running for the first position, running with about 73 pips in profit right now, while if you had added and materialized, taking advantage of the second one at the breakdown of the 1,906, you will have about 35 pips running in profit. So we have roughly over 100 pips in total from two positions. And for those who are taking advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to have capitalized on this move. Right now, you all know what we want to be doing now, as we have price action that moves significantly well in our favor. The next thing we want to be doing right now is to move all our stop losses to secure this position at this point in time. Now, from the way things are looking right now, I am of the opinion that we should be having our stop losses placed anywhere around or above the 1,906 and the 1,908 zone, lock in some profit while we also give enough room for price action to breathe. Now, with this situation we have right now, how do we intend to capitalize on any potential trading opportunities for today? How are we going to continue buying the continue selling the XAUUSD? How are we going to be getting ready to buy the XAUUSD if the market permits us? Well, the first thing we want to acknowledge here is the fact that price still remains below both our descending trend line and our key level, which of course, from our own analytical approach, we expect that we will continue to look out for patterns to sell. So what I mean here on the chart is this: we have our week's key level at the 1910, which of course anywhere below that structure is going to be welcoming selling opportunities. And of course, we have the descending trend line. As you will see, price action is both below the structures. So we don't want to be considering buying at this point in time, of course. Now, if we're going to continue selling here, where do we want to be adding more sell position? Of course, we have the lowest point right now, which we have noticed at the 1903. This is the lowest point where price action has been since the beginning of this week. And if we want to be adding more sell position or joining freshly, then we want to be looking out for selling opportunities below the 1903 level. Now, for those who are profitable so far this week, that is, if you had sold and joined our first sell position for this week, definitely you must be in profit at this point in time, so we can afford to leverage on the profit we had made so far this week to test waters below the 1903. So as a result of this, you want to be having a sell stop order below the 1903. Now, please note this, that this is for those who had already taken advantage of the selling opportunities that we took advantage of yesterday. However, if you are joining the XAUUSD market for the first time and this is going to be your first trade on the XAUUSD market, then I will be suggesting that you remain patient, as you don't have a leverage to risk on at this point in time. So I will be suggesting that you wait for the breakdown of the 1903 to happen, after which you want to be scaling down into the lower time frame to look out for a retest of structure to confirm that sellers are gradually gaining momentum and that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the 1903 to join the bearish move to the downside. And of course, remember, very important, you want to have your stop losses in place to protect your portfolio against huge drawdowns, of course. So our stop losses should be anywhere above the 1907 level, which will be dovetailing to between 35 to 40 pips on this one. So let's see how the market will play out on this area. So we continue to hold on to a bearish bias as long as price remains below our key level and of course the descending trend line we identified earlier. However, if at any point in time buy pressure resumes, we also want to be on standby to capitalize on that move. As you all know how we do it in this community, in as much as we're looking out for selling opportunities, we also want to keep tabs with the potentials that buyers could come in this market. Now, looking at the structure we have here, the first thing I was able to note here this morning was the appearance of buy pressure around the 1903. And right now, if you look at what happened during the early hours of today, we saw buy pressure within the zone. And in the last 3 to 4 hours, we have been noticing some buy pressure again around the 1903, which is giving us a sign that we might likely be seeing some accumulation going on here to incite a surge in price of gold. Now, for us to capitalize on this move, how do we want to what do we want to see on this chart that will make us neglect the bearish buyers and hold on to the bullish buyers from this point? Now, from the look of things right now, it is quite clear that we have been noticing some buy pressure within that zone between the 1906 and the 1903 area. And in that regard, we cannot ignore the potentials of buyers. Now, if we are going to be joining any bullish momentum, there are two ways to which I want to be capitalizing on this move. The first one is an outright technical expectation, which is price breaking out of both the descending trend line, remember, and the key level at the 1910. Now, if price breaks out of that descending trend line, it will be a clear sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate any bullish attempt in this market. Now, coincidentally, the descending trend line also shares a beautiful confluence with our key level at the 1910 910. So if price action breaks out of both of the structures, then I want to start considering buying the XAUUSD. Now, a breakout retest of the structure will be welcoming an opportunity to buy the XAUUSD. So this is the only condition that will make us want to buy the XAUUSD. However, if we begin to see some signs early enough, even before the breakout happens, we could actually capitalize on that one. And how do we do that? When we start seeing higher highs and higher lows around this area, maybe from this point now we begin to see higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows above the 1,906, then continued buy pressure there should welcome buying opportunity even before the breakout happens. So when the breakout happens, we can maximize the potential of that bullish move, had more position at the breakout of the 1,915 level, as you will see here, and of course add another position at the breakout of the 1,922.50 level if price action goes that far. So these are my views on how we are going to be trading the XAUUSD today. So I was able to identify simple structures and levels that we are going to be using to guide both selling and buying opportunities. Now remember, let me do a quick recap here. We are only going to be adding more sell positions at the breakdown of the 1,903. That is price action taking out all the buy position here. And remember, that is the lowest point where price action has been for this week. A breakdown retest of structure should be welcoming a good signal to sell. However, if price action continues to the upside, then a breakout of both the trend line and the 1,910 level should be welcoming buying opportunity. And I also told us that we can capitalize on a buy position early enough, even before the breakout of the neckline happens. If we begin to notice higher highs and higher lows, then we can use the 1,906 level as a platform to join an uptrend continuation. So this is how we are going to be capitalizing on buying or selling the XAUUSD for today. So you do want to be marking out these levels on your charts, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions on your own account. So these are my views here. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we move right in to the last asset on our watch list for today. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're all on the same page here. So, I will be moving right into the last financial asset on our watch list for today, which was, of course, introduced to us by Fisherman yesterday. But I'm yet to see Fisherman's comments in the comment section. If Fisherman, if you're still around, please let me know. I would like to see your comments or hear from you to know that we are together here. All right, so the last asset we are going to be taking on today is the EURJPY, and in fact, we finally had a buy position triggered as we had price broke out of the 158.850 level, giving us about, let's see how many pips that is right now. That's about 30 pips running at this point in time. So for those who are taking advantage of this move, well done to you for being on standby to have capitalized on this trading opportunity. Now, the next thing you want to be doing right now is to ensure that this position is well secured. Kindly move all your stop losses. Personally, I will suggest moving stop losses to your entry point at this point in time while we continue to monitor price action here. Now, let's run through what really happened yesterday. What did we see on this chart that made us to consider buying the EURJPY? So in order to do this, I would like to refresh our memory. So we shall be going back into the higher time frame from where we started the top-down analysis on this asset. Now, the first thing we did here was to scale up into the daily time frame where we were able to spot that there's price action has been very bullish since the beginning of this year. And to further buttress that, we had a couple of trend lines, as you will see, after we connected the series of higher lows. Now, one thing interesting we took note of here is the price is at new highs at this point in time. So we zoomed into the current structure, taking into consideration the nature of price action since the month of July. And what we noticed here is that we had a very strong key level at the 158.00 area, which had been a major determinant of price action since the month of June, as you will see here. Now, if you look at this closely, you will see how this level or zone was a strong selling niche at some point. Fast forward into the month of July, we saw it as a selling niche before we finally saw the breakout of the structure during the previous week around this area to give us a new high. And one thing we said here yesterday is that as long as price remains above that key level at the 158.00 area, we shall continue to look out for buying opportunity. And we also talk about the potential of price action coming to retest the structure to incite an uptrend scenario, which of course we saw something like that yesterday. If you look at this structure, okay, I think we saw that on Friday. Yesterday we saw this happen around this area, giving us clue that price action is likely going to be continuing to the upside. Now, with the situation we have right here, we want to be scaling down into the 1 hour time frame to see how the market has been reacting to this highest point. So scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, this is what we were able to spot at the beginning of the week. The first thing we observed here was the fact that price action was confined within that range between the 158.850 and the 158.200 level, giving us an insight into the level of indecision at that point in time. And in addition to that was this ascending trend line, which we spotted. Remember, we had this ascending trend, and let me adjust it a little bit so that I can capture the point pivot lows here. So we had this ascending trend line, of course, which we also agreed that as long as price remains above this trend line, we shall feel comfortable buying the EURJPY, and the only condition that will make us to start thinking of selling is when price action breaks down this ascending trend line. And that was why we bought, and in fact we are in a very good position right now. So congrats to everyone who has been part of this trade. Now, as we head into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans, and especially for those who had missed out on this opportunity, what do we look out for? Well, as long as price still remains above that ascending trend line, we have no business thinking of selling. Now, with the scenario we have here, and considering the breakout of the 158.850 during the early hours of today, from a technical standpoint, we expect that price action could come back to retest the structure, which also lines up with the ascending trend line to incite the uptrend continuation. So for those who had missed out on this opportunity, there are two ways to which we can capitalize on the uptrend continuation. The first one is, let's wait for price action to come back into either the 158.850 or the ascending trend line to look out for trend continuation patterns to join the uptrend move. Or price could probably transition into a trend continuation pattern where a consolidation phase within the 159.250 could incite a breakout of structure to incite an uptrend scenario. So these are the two ways to which we can join an uptrend continuation here. So let's keep this in mind. So we look out for either price comes back to retest the structure that was broken this morning or the ascending trend line to join a bullish momentum, or we look out for a trend continuation pattern around the 159.250, which could come in the form of a flag pattern, bullish rectangular pattern, a pennant, then breakout of the resistance will give us that opportunity to join the uptrend continuation. So that is how we are going to be capitalizing on buying the EURJPY for today. Now, in as much as we also want to be looking out for the potentials of sellers too, what is it that we are going to see here that will make us want to sell? Now, looking at the structure closely and going to as far back as Thursday of last week trading session, you will see how the 159.250 had been a strong selling niche, negating all attempt by the buyers to break out of the structure. And in fact, we can see that price is back into that zone with a level of indecision going on right now. Now, if selling pressure persists below this level, then I want to be looking out for selling opportunities when price breaks down the 158.850 and that this ascending trend line. Then remember, we are not getting too excited as we will need further confirmation like a retest of structure to join a downtrend scenario here. So this is what we shall be looking out for to join any selling opportunities in this market. Break down, retest both the ascending trend line and the 158.850 to join any bearish move in this market. So you want to be marking out the 158.850, the ascending trend line, and the 159.250, as this zone here is what we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. So these are my views here on the EURJPY. It's a simple setup. Let's ensure we mark these levels out on our chart so that we can use them as a reference point to guide our trading activities for today. So these are my views here on the EURJPY. If you do have any questions regarding this current setup, feel free to let me know in the comments section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions. And if they are not, then we'll just call it a day right here. All right, so I can see a handful of comments here. Let me run through them quickly and acknowledge your presence. I saw 5403. I saw YC Rep 1428. Okay, Susie MB, JV Cars. I can see 58831. Benito, and then 25283. Well done to you guys. Thank you very much for checking in on us here, and trust you had a very insightful session. through the Extra and Speed Live for today. So it's on this note I want to wish us all the best of luck today. So let's see how the market will play out in the next 24 hours, and we shall be back here again tomorrow to review how well this financial assets has been doing. So don't forget that we have the RSI retail sales data coming in from the US economic docket in about an hour from now. Ensure all open positions are well secured. Move your stop losses accordingly. Lock in your current position and ensure that we wait for our structures to mature before we jump into any position. I'm very confident that we are well equipped to be able to take advantage of any potential trading opportunities during the New York session today. Just follow through with our structures and levels that we've identified on the chart, and if you follow through them, trust me, tomorrow we shall be coming here with all smiles and talking about how profitable we have been in the last 24 hours. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow again, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here again to review how well the financial assets we have been monitoring have been doing so far. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.